What's up, everyone? Name code Dustin here, Fantasy Smack Talk. This is our bi-weekly baseball show. But before we get into it, 2 weeks ago, we talked about if you do 100 posts in our forums, you're gonna be getting a free Fantasy Smack Talk T-shirt. A couple of you have already hit us up for it and been sending it.
That's right.
So good for you if you're wearing your T-shirt proudly. If not, get in those forums, get active, get a T-shirt. Dustin, got something to talk about here.
So every year it seems recently, a average or slightly above average pitcher is having out of nowhere a perfect game or a no-hitter. Just happened recently with Humber for the White Sox. Dallas Braden a couple years ago is a name that sticks out as a guy just out of nowhere. And they do have instant fantasy value. And of course, your gut tells you, hey, this guy just pitched a no-hitter. Let's go pick him up. But you really need to take a look at the numbers. Treat it like any other pickup that you would think about making. Humber is not that great of a pitcher. Sometimes pitchers just have good nights. They have everything working. They get the outs. They throw the no-hitter. Great, awesome. But the consistency's not going to be there, or else you would have heard of Humber before he's over 30 at this point and throws a random no-hitter. If you can trade him, do it.
All right, let's take a look at that waiver wire and a couple guys that we feel are definitely worth considering and adding in all leagues. First one, we're going to start with a relief pitcher, and that's Kenley Jansen there of the Dodgers. This guy, coming into the year, everyone loved, but he didn't get the closer role, but hell, he's pitching great enough that he might be taking that over quite shortly. In 12 innings, he already has 20 Ks. That's just absolutely ridiculous stuff. That's what you normally like to see out of your closer, more than your setup man, so that change of the guard could be happening soon.
Guerra has not looked that great. Next guy, I'm going to vent a little bit here. Jose Altuve. How is this guy only owned in 50% of leagues? If he was 6 feet tall, people would be saying this guy's the next Chase Utley. Because he's 5'7", no one's talking about him. But it's not like this guy came out of nowhere. He had a great year last year in the minors. In 357 at-bats, he batted almost 400. Had 42 extra base hits, 24 steals. This guy can bat for average and throw in some bags, and he plays second base. How's he only owned in 50% of leagues? Pick him up.
Please pick this guy up for you super fans, all 3 of you out there that watched us last year as well. You know, with Ruby De La Rosa, this guy talked about it every single week. Probably going to happen again, so please go pick him up. Next guy,
Tommy John surgery crushed me.
Next guy I'm going to be talking about is for the Orioles, and that's Nolan Reimold. You know, this guy had a lot of hype coming in, and then he didn't really pan out, but this year's playing great. Batting .370, he's already got 5 bombs on the year. You know, if you're looking in need of an outfield with some pop, he's a guy to go ahead and grab.
Moving on, we got Brian LaHair for the Cubs. We talked about him last week, or our last show 2 weeks ago. He's still only on 40% of leagues, though, but this guy has continued with the hot bat. You know, Rizzo, yes, they're still saying he's going to get caught up at some point. It's going to hurt LaHair. But they're going to have to find a way to get this guy at bats. They might even move him to the outfield. He needs to be owned in more leagues.
And something they did say about Rizzo is that they're absolutely not going to push it by any means, especially if LaHair's playing as good as he is. So if this continues, he's going to keep playing, obviously. All right, the last guy I'm going to be talking about is Mike Minor of the Braves. You know, this former high draft pick, it came off to not the greatest start this year. He gave up 6 earned runs in his first outing, but since then he's been pitching great. He's lowered his ERA to a 3.42. He's got a .99 whip. Definitely a guy worth considering if you need any starting pitching help.
All right, let's take a look at some guys that we think are must-adds in deeper leagues. And the first guy is Eduardo Nunez for the Yankees. Second, third, and shortstop eligibility.
Oof.
Only one problem. Robinson Cano, Derek Jeter, and A-Rod. It is a bit of a tricky situation for Nunez, but this guy is too good for the Yankees not to get creative to find him at bats. They've talked about outfield for him potentially as well. You know, when their old guys at shortstop and third need a night to DH, he can play it. He's going to get some at bats. He's going to have some speed. And the position eligibility alone is just too good to pass up.
Yeah, daily leagues, that guy's a great ad. All right, I'm going to be talking about a pitcher, and that's Jared Parker of the A's. This kid recently was kind of the first big prospect starting pitcher called up this year, and he's had 1 outing. He only gave up 1 earned run, had 5 Ks in 6 1/3 innings. A lot of upside here. Young, very talented arm, pitches in a good ballpark, even though Dustin hates when people say that. He does, regardless. If you need a young gun, he's the guy to get.
It does make a difference, but they took too much into it. It doesn't make that much of a difference, but it does make a difference. All right, let's talk about the White Sox closer situation. Another mess out there. You know, if Thornton or Reed was the clear-cut guy, we'd say there's a must-add. But since we just don't know who it's going to be, I'm calling them must-adds in deeper leagues. But Santiago has been terrible for the most part. He's on this guy's team. He does have 10 Ks in 6 innings, but his ERA is over 8. It's going to have to happen sooner rather than later if Santiago keeps pitching like this. I like Thornton just a little bit more personally for the short term. Reed has more long-term value.
All right, it's time to answer the questions from you, our fans in the forums, where if you ask enough questions or respond to other people, you can get that t-shirt. First one comes from Shooter McGavin11. Shooter! Wants to know Alex Rios or Nolan Reimold. Who are you taking, Dustin?
This one is tough. Rios hasn't really put up that great in numbers the last couple years, but he's off to a good start this year. But I think the upside really here is Reimold. He's proven when healthy in years past that he can bat for power. I'm not really trusting his average thus far, but I do think the power can be there for him if he can stay healthy. I think the upside is just a little bit more towards Reimold here. All right, Brent, the next one we got comes from AJ Mitch 82. This was a trade question that he posted. This is a really tough one. He would be giving up Josh Hamilton and in return be getting McCutchen and Avila. He does need a catcher upgrade. His catcher right now is Iannetta.
Coming into, we say it every year, don't draft Josh Hamilton necessarily because he's going to get injured at some point. So you would think that I'd be like, oh yeah, you got to get rid of him now when you can. No, I say you don't do this trade. He's playing so out of his mind right now. He's on your squad. I think you just got to hold on to him at this point and hope that he continues this and doesn't get hurt, or ask for a lot more. I mean, this guy's all over ESPN. People love him. He's playing great. If you can trade it and get somebody like a Posey or Wieters in there with a guy like McCutchen for him, I think that's a trade that is fair that could possibly get done with the way that he's playing. So shoot for that instead and reject this trade for now.
This trade is really close, and I am high on McCutchen at this point right now.
It's a lot closer for him because of that.
With his batting average, I like that he's batting for average and not necessarily power this year so far. The power will come with him, but it seems like in the past he's been too focused on the power, and that hurts his average. I do like McCutchen.
And again, for your super fans, what is McCutchen? What do you love about him?
I love watching him run the bases. The guy's amazing. I love watching him run the bases. But this one is really close, but I say pass on it too. Ask for a little bit more. So that's it for our bi-weekly baseball show. Like Brent was saying, get into those forums, try to get one of those shirts, and we'll see you in a couple weeks.
Shoot up!